Hey everybody, Luke Gordon here, and today I want to share some simple balance exercises with you that you can do at home. So if you're looking to improve your balance and reduce the likelihood of a fall, this is going to be a great place to start. This is part one in this series, and as of right now I'm going to make 3 parts. So in part one, I'm going to start you off with the most basic ones. So it should be pretty easy to do at home, and so I'm going to focus on 4 exercises, but I'm going to give you some modifications as we go along so that if you need to make them easier to start with to keep it safe, you can do that. Or if you're getting better at them or you have better balance to begin with, you can make it more difficult. So I'm going to give you 4 basic exercises you can do. 2 of them are going to require a squishy surface. So in the clinic we use like these foam pads. This one is an Airex pad, which is my favorite one because it's nice and squishy. You can get cheaper versions online too. The only downside there then is that the cheaper versions aren't quite as squishy. They're more dense, so they're not as challenging. I'll put a link to this specific pad in the description of the video in case you want to check it out. If you don't have a pad or you don't want to buy one, you can also use like a pillow that you have laying around, or your spouse's pillow, so you can step on it with your feet and not tell them. Or you can use like a couch cushion or something like that. Just a squishy surface that'll challenge your balance a little bit. So again, 2 of the exercises are going to use this. The first ones we're going to do though, and I'll show you my feet here a little bit. The first ones we're going to do, and safety-wise you'll notice I'm at the counter. So if you're challenging your balance, you're going to want to have a stable surface in front of you. The counter, the sink, the dresser, something that you could hold on to if you need to, especially in front of you. So you would be facing towards the counter because if you're moving your balance a little bit, you'd want something solid in front of you. I'm going to kind of show you more from the front just so you can see what it looks like. But again, safety is really big. I should mention that again before we go into the exercises, because when you're challenging your balance, you want to challenge it to the point that it'll improve a little bit, but you don't want to challenge it so much that you risk falling over. So again, just keep that in mind. I'm sure that's kind of obvious, but it seems like a good idea to mention that before I show you ways to challenge your balance. So again, I'll be at the countertop here. The first position is easy, and you can do it with your socks on or your shoes on. You're just going to be on a firm surface, like your kitchen floor, with your feet side by side and your eyes open. Now you can have your hands at your sides or you can cross your hands over your chest, but you're just going to be with your feet together, eyes open on a firm surface. Now for me, since I don't have any specific issues with my balance, what you'll notice is I don't really wobble or sway or anything like that. But if you do have issues with your balance, whether it's inner ear issues, weakness in your ankles, hips, core, this might be a little bit of a challenge for you to start with. Most folks it's not going to be challenging at all. So that's the first one. The second then exercise will be challenging for a fair amount of folks. It's the same position with your feet together on a firm surface, but now you're going to close your eyes. So when you close your eyes, take away that visual input. Now you might see people's ankles start to wobble and sway a little more. Maybe you get a little bit of even sway at your hips here as well. So those are the first 2. Easy ways to modify those ones. If that second one is too challenging and you feel like it's too much of a sway where you feel like you might fall over, you don't feel safe, you can just go ahead and scoot your feet apart a little bit. So start with just like hip width, a few inches, and now you may be swaying a little bit, but you feel more comfortable having your eyes closed for that position. Ultimately, you'd like to hold these positions or work through these positions for about 30 seconds at a time. So again, it's normal to sway. You actually want yourself to sway because then you're challenging your balance. You just want to be able to safely correct your balance. So you should notice with these ones especially, a lot of movement in your ankles. Little muscles in your ankles should twitch and fire to help make those corrections. So those are the first 2. The next 2 then, they're essentially the same as the first 2, but you're going to make the surface you're on more difficult. So again, we're going to use the Airex pad. I'm going to step on here, feet together, eyes open. So that's the third one. Feet together, eyes open on a squishy surface. You might be surprised at how much more difficult this one is, even with your eyes open, than on the firm surface, especially with a pad like this that is pretty squishy. So a lot of people will really start to bounce around on here, even with their eyes open. And again, that's good. The bouncing and the movement is good because it's challenging your ankles and all these different parts of your balance, as long as you feel safe. So again, that's eyes open. With your eyes open, if it's too tricky with your feet side by side, again, scoot them a little ways apart. That'll make it much easier. So that's the third one. The fourth one then, as you can probably guess, is feet together, eyes closed. Now this is the one where a lot of our adult clients, if you're more than likely you're watching this video, if you're an adult or older adult with some balance issues, this is the one you really got to be careful with. Because for a lot of people, if they've had issues with their balance for a while, they've had falls in the past, they will literally go right over with this one if you're not careful within like 2 seconds. Obviously, I don't have any issues, so I can stay here for a good amount of time. But even you'll notice my feet will kind of bounce around a little bit, and that's good. So again, the object with these exercises is to challenge your balance without falling over. Sounds simple, right? Okay, again, modifications for this one. If it's too difficult, feet apart. Makes sense by now, hopefully. And that's the modification for all 4 of these. So those are the 4 basic ones. Before I go with this video and go on to part 2, I do want to share one more modification that I find really valuable with clients in the clinic. And that is, if you're going between eyes open and eyes closed, and even with scooting your feet apart, if that transition is too difficult, what you can do instead of closing your eyes is you can keep your eyes open, but you can turn and look around the room. So you can do just what I call head turns. Now you can just turn your head, or you can turn your whole body. But either way, what you're doing is you're not allowing your vision to focus on one thing at a time with the head turns or the body turns, and that's making it more difficult. It's not as difficult as closing your eyes and taking away that visual input, but it is more difficult than standing still with your head still and able to focus your eyes on like an object, like a pumpkin or something like that. So those are the 4 exercises for part 1. They're basically the Romberg. If you've seen the video that has like the 4 ways to test your balance systems, it's basically those 4 tests put into an exercise instead. And again, hopefully those modifications help. So leave me a comment below if you have questions on those. Again, I'm going to post parts 2 and part 3 pretty soon here, and they'll get a little bit more difficult as we go. But if you have questions or comments, I'd certainly love to hear them, so post those below. I'm going to link back to those 4 balance tests if you haven't already seen that video, and then I'll link forward to part 2 in this video as well. Please like the video and subscribe while you're here. And also, we're just starting up at Gordon Physical Therapy. We're just starting up balance classes online, and those will be with Zoom. So those will be virtual classes. So this is kind of the first time that we can actually teach balance classes to an audience, across the country or across the world potentially. If you have any interest in learning about those balance classes, leave a comment below the video as well, and I'll get back to you. At some point, I may have a link to share in the description, so look for that link when and if it does exist, and I'll link that AirX pad back there too. So that's it for part 1, and then we're on to part 2. Thanks for watching.